I'm bored. Let's read a book. Ah! This is Chapter 2 of The Magic of Recluse, Book 1. Laris! The tone in Uncle Sardet's voice told me enough. Whatever I had done, I did not wish to know. I had finished washing the sawdust from my face. As usual, I had got water all over the stone. But the sun had already warmed the slate facing, and the water would be dry soon enough. Even if my aunt would be down with a frayed towel to polish the stone within moments of my return to the shop. Laris! Aunt Elizabeth always kept the washstones polished, the kettle sparkling, and the gray stone floors spotless. Why should it have surprised me? I don't know. Since my father, and indeed every other holder in my hometown of one or not, exhibited the same fastidiousness. My mother, father, and sister were both householders, while Uncle Sardet was an artisan. That was common enough, or so I thought. Laris! Young man, get yourself back here now! I definitely did not want to return to the carpentry, but there was no escape. Coming, Uncle Sardet. He stood at the doorway, a frown on his face. The frown was common, but the yelling had not been. My guts twisted. What could I have done? Come here. He thrust a wide-fingered hand at the inlaid tabletop on the workbench. Look at that, closely. His voice was so low it rumbled. I looked. I obviously did not want to see what he wanted to see. Did you see that? I shook his head. See what? Look at the clamps. Bending over, I followed his finger. The clamps were as I had placed them earlier, the smooth side, as he had taught me, matching the grain of the dark lurking wood, with that grain of the wood. Laris, can't you see? The end is biting into the wood, and here the pressure has moved the border out of position. Perhaps the tiniest fraction of a span, if at all, but all I had to do to correct that would be to sand the other end up a bit more, and no one except Uncle Sardet and perhaps the furniture buyer for the Emperor of Hammer would ever have noticed this discrepancy. First, you don't force wood, Laris. You know that. You just aren't paying attention anymore. Woodworking means you are working with the wood, not forcing it, not working against it. I stood there. What could I say? Uncle Sardet sighed. Let's go into the house, Laris. We have some talking to do. I liked the sound of that even less, but I followed his example and unstrapped my leather apron and wrapped my tools. We walked out the door and across the small pavement of the courtyard into the room Aunt Elizabeth called the parlor. I never knew why she called it the parlor. I'd asked once, but she'd just smiled and said it had been a name she picked up along the way. A tray sat on the table. On it were 2 icy glasses, some slabs of fresh baked bread, cheese, and several sliced apples. The bread was still steaming, and the aroma filled the small room. Uncle Sardet eased himself into the chair nearest the kitchen. I took the other one. Something about the tray being ready bothered me. It bothered me a whole lot. The soft sound of steps caused me to look up from the tabletop. Uncle Sardet put down his glass, iced fruit punch, and nodded it at Aunt Elizabeth. She, like father, was fair-skinned, sandy-haired, slender, and tall. Uncle Sardet was smaller and wiry, with salt and pepper hair and short-cropped beard. Both of them looked guilty. You're right, Laris. We do feel guilty. Perhaps because you're Gunnar's son. That was Aunt Elizabeth. But that doesn't change anything, added Uncle Sardet. You still have to face the same decisions whether you're our nephew or not. I took a gulp of the fruit punch to avoid answering, though I knew Aunt Elizabeth would know that. She always knew. So did my father. Have something to eat. I'll do some of the talking. Elizabeth would fill in anything I miss. He took a wedge of cheese and a slab of bread and chewed several bits slowly, swallowed, and finished up with another gulp of fruit punch. Magister Kerwin should have taught you, as he taught me, that a master or a journeyman who instructs his apprentice is also responsible for determining the apprentice's fitness for practicing that craft. I took some bread and cheese. Obviously, the master was responsible for the apprentice. What he did not tell you or me is that the craftsmaster must also determine whether the apprentice will ever be ready for practicing a craft, or whether the apprentice should be considered for Dangergeld or exile. Exile? You see, Laris, there is no point in recluse for unfocused dissatisfaction, added Aunt Elizabeth. Boredom, inability to concentrate, unwillingness to apply yourself to the fullest of your ability. These can all allow chaos a foothold in recluse. So the real question facing you, Laris, is whether you want to take the Dangergeld training or whether you would rather just leave the recluse forever. Just because I'm bored? Just because I put a little too much pressure on a wood clamp? For that I have to choose between exile and Dangergeld? No, because your boredom reflects a deeper lack of commitment. Sloppy work on the part of someone who is doing his best is not a danger, nor is sloppy work when the honest intent is perfection, provided, of course, that no one has to rely on the sloppy work for anything that could threaten their life if it failed. Aunt Elizabeth looked somehow taller, and there was fire behind her eyes. I looked away. Are you saying that you have honestly been happy trying to achieve perfection in woodwork? Asked Uncle Sardet. No, I couldn't very well lie. Aunt Elizabeth would catch it. Do you think that it would become easier if you continued to work with me? No. I took another slice of bread and a second wedge of cheese. I didn't remember eating the first, but I must have. I sipped the fruit punch only enough to moisten my mouth. Then I was cold inside already. Now what? I asked before taking another bite. If you decide to take the Dangergeld training, the masters will work with you for as long as necessary in their judgment to prepare you for your Dangergeld. After training, you cannot return until you have completed the charge laid upon you. If you choose exile, you will leave. You cannot return except with the permission of the masters. While not unheard of, such permission is rarely given. Just because I'm bored. Just because I'm young and haven't settled down. Just because my woodwork isn't perfect. No, it has nothing to do with youth. Aunt Elizabeth sighed. Last year, the masters exiled 5 crafters twice your age, and close to a dozen people in their 3rd or 4th decade undertook the Dangergeld. You're serious, aren't you? Yes. I could tell she was. Uncle Sardet, for all his statements about doing the talking, hadn't said a word in explanation. I was getting a very strange feeling about Aunt Elizabeth, that she was a great deal more than a holder. So where do I go? You're sure? Asked Uncle Sardet, his mouth full. What choice is there? Either get plunked down on a boat to somewhere as an exile, knowing nothing, or try to learn as much as I can before doing something that at least gives me a chance of making a decision. I think that's the right choice for you, said Aunt Elizabeth, but it's not quite that simple. After finishing my bread and cheese in the strained atmosphere of the house, I went back to my quarters over the shop and began to pack. Uncle Sardet said he would keep the chair and the few other pieces until I returned. He did not mention the fact that few Dangergelders returned. Neither did I. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss out on any of these videos. See you on the next one. Goodbye.